And we are back. Respect the line. You got Matthew Taylor. You got Danny Catullo. We're talking bocce. We're talking what's popular in the sport, strategy. But most importantly, Taylor, we're talking about the fans today. Today is about the fans' rebuttal to your top 10, or to some of people, your so-called top 10 list in bocce. And I just, as a man of the people, right, I feel like I have to come with, these rebuttals to you. And I want to hear what you have to say, because I'm sure during this process, you had to have forgotten somebody, right? Like there's got to be somebody that you were like,
Yeah, I did.
damn,
I did, but you know what?
I just missed.
We're gonna own, as the one guy told me, I'm gonna own my list. Okay, I put the list pen to paper. I spoke it into existence. Now I gotta own it, and I gotta figure this out. So yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Let's start with these shooters, okay? Because shooters shoot. I there's one that got mentioned the most, and this was in Facebook comments. Heard it from Durkin and Romeo. I was getting a little bit, chirping from the Farrell guys, and it was Mike
Okay,
Lapsovich.
can't wait to hear.
Yeah, it was Mike Lapsovich.
Mike
So
Lapsovich.
you made this comment about how Bruno is still the GOAT, right? And he's older, right? Older than
Yeah.
Lap, I would expect. And then you made a comment about Lap in the episode, and you said that basically you didn't think he could hang for enough rounds as a lead hitter. So, like, why Bruno? I don't, is Bruno hanging for enough rounds as lead hitter? And Lap
That's
can't?
an easy answer. I mean, 2 years ago, or maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago. It might have been 2 years ago, actually. Bruno and John Calabrese made it to the championship against Jose and Pat in the 2-man at Molisani at age 107. Okay, like he's still out there grinding. I played against him in two or three championship games over the last 2 years. So yeah, he's still out there playing all the time. Lapsovich kind of, he listen, if we were doing a top 10 Hall of Fame, like guys inducted in the Hall of Fame, Lapsovich, guess what, buddy? You're top 2 or 3, right? I mean, let's, it is what it is, but
my favorite quote from Sean New about Lap is, that dude stole so many freaking titles away from me. I can't even.
Yeah,
listen,
he's a legend. He's a Hall of Famer. Listen, 20 years ago, Lap, I wouldn't talk no trash about Lap. He's also a big trash talker. People don't know that. Or some people do.
People don't know that. They don't think Lapsovich is a big trash talker? Or just,
I know. People do know he is. Those guys are they were arrogant. They knew they were going to beat you. The minute they stepped on the court with you, they've told me that. But guess what, Lap? When you step on the court, I just know I'm going to beat you. So I have no fear in you. So these other guys I mentioned, like, I'm not saying I fear them, but I know we're going to have to bring our game. You? I just don't feel the same way.
So I personally think Lap's a stud, but I think the thing that you said out there is something that I'm really interested in, is creating a bocce Hall of Fame, especially for our open bocce in our circuit. I think that's something that you and I need to be thinking about. Is
he'd be in the top 3 for sure. He'd be in the top 3 for sure. It's not even close.
All right, so there's another one that this is actually someone that you talked to me about offline. Like, we literally were done filming the episode, and you're like, "Oh shit, I didn't say Jimmy DeFranco." So, tell it to me straight. Do you think Jimmy DeFranco's in that honorable mention list?
Yeah, listen. So I caught some flack on this one, rightfully so. I actually spoke to him. Jimmy, listen, he's won a lot of tournaments. He's only been playing for 3 or 4 years too, which is a lot of, some people don't realize. And he's won a lot of big tournaments. And when you go back and look at some of those tournaments, he's all those guys are great, but he played really well. I even won a tournament with him. I had to explain to him though, like, listen, I'm going strictly from this year. And this year he even acknowledged he only played 3 or 4 tournaments. But so, like, how can I, be a hypocrite and put him in there when I did say that? However, he should have got a mention, because at any point he can go out there, play with his team, and they'll win, right? So, like, We had a long conversation. Of course, Jimmy hit me with the, listen, bulletin board material. After I win this Fall Classic next week, I'm retiring. And I had to tell him, I'm not going to let you win the Fall Classic. Like, it's not going to happen. But yes, Jimmy DeFranco deserves to be mentioned. He's a two-time major champion. He's got a lot of like top fives in some of these big tournaments, Rome, right? Like, so yeah, I mean,
Listen,
he's up there, dude. Like, it can't.
Winning
Yeah,
matters.
you can't
He
argue.
wins.
Yeah, winning matters. Winning matters.
I disagree. People will argue. I have heard about Jimmy DeFranco and others that are sort of playing. Let's just call it on paper the third or the fourth wheel on a team. So I think Jimmy, like, it's definitely an advantage for him when it comes to winning to play with the people that he has. But often, sometimes people can, use Jimmy or others as maybe a scapegoat when they're not winning. Yet they, have all these top fives and all these major championships, in their belt. So, like, I do think there are some people that are like, I can hit as well as Jimmy DeFranco, and I could win with those guys if it was me playing with them. And they might not say it out loud, but I'll say it for them. I do think that he catches a little bit flack on the outside, but look, to me personally, winning shuts everybody up. You will start winning tournaments, then your excuse sounds like you're an asshole. Because
I mean, to be honest with you, though, in Jimmy's defense, it's really hard to win a big tournament, any tournament, with 3 balls. Okay, if he's not throwing a good ball, you're not going to win. So to say that he doesn't play well is asinine. And I'm sure this is the great thing about us, even us moving forward. We're going to be able to put all these games in the showcase, right? People can go back and look and see who's playing well and see who's not. You can't hide anymore. You can't talk to your friends the next day and go, oh, dude, I played really good, but my teammates sucked. Listen, buddy, I saw you on live, and I saw you throw that 6-footer 3 times in a row. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, so, it's funny how that works. But
I know, like, you and I, like, right after our episode, right, we got to see, like, some lives, and, like, you and I were texting back and forth, and I'm like, oh, look at this dude. People think he's top 10, or he mentioned he's top 10, but he's missing balls left and right. Or, like, we're watching her play, and, like, are you really there? So it's interesting because now it's not just based on feelings and, like, just, like, pure results. Now we're starting to actually watch the games. And so now you can really start seeing if these players are up to the task. I got a couple, when speaking of winners, that, to me are just like, you mentioned Vivo, and you didn't mention Peter Barac. But, like, you kind of put me last.
That was a mistake on my part.
You put me last on, like, the honorable mention. For one, I'm not there. Those two are fucking better than me. Why? They've won. I don't win.
Dude,
they win. Those guys are they're winners, man. And Peter,
I'm cutting you off, dude. Peter Barac literally should be in the top 10. I'm not kidding. He's an animal. Everybody says it. Every tournament he's in.
Did you watch him in the shooting competition? Like, that was baller, bro. That was fucking.
He hit everything, dude. Wycliffe, he hit everything. That guy don't miss balls, dude. The fact I forgot about him is an absolute. I should be fired from podcasting forever for forgetting about Petey Barac.
Good.
It's just amazing.
We're all in agreement. He's a stud. He's a stud. And to me, in the 3 years of playing with him, like, or against him, he's gotten better. He keeps getting better.
Yeah. Danny, can you do me a favor? Can you go over my top 10 lead shooters real quick again? Because I'm going to put Petey Barac in there, and I got to figure out who to take out.
This is going to be interesting. You want to go to lead shooters, right? You sure?
Yes.
This one's going to be tough.
Yes.
Okay. Capagreco, Strenad, Doug Carter, DeCillo, Orlando, Palumbo, Nacera, PL3, Carl Greenaway, and Dante Chiavetti.
Buddy, that was some tough ones. You know what? I think that I would take Petey Barac over Carl Greenway. No, listen. I would take Petey Barac over Carl Greenway right now. If I had to play one tournament next week, who am I asking? It's between those two. I'm calling Petey.
Yeah, that's all matters.
Petey. Just from a pure talent perspective. I probably would rather hang out with Carl, Carl's a great dude, whatever. Probably call him Petey.
I don't know.
Probably.
Peter Barac's pretty fun.
You don't like that. You don't like that one.
But
Joe Palumbo, listen, Joe Palumbo might get the boot too. He might get the boot too. I don't know. Like it's pretty close. Joe, don't be mad at me for this. Pete, I mean, Joe would probably acknowledge like, yo, Petey's really good. Like he wouldn't be upset if I was like, yo, I'm gonna go with Petey this term instead of you. He's up there. Chevetti don't play enough. Sometimes he stinks. Petey, like I never see him stink. So like maybe I'd take him over Chevetti, depending on the tournament.
He's starting to play a lot more though, and we're starting to see. But
yeah, he is. He's open the club now.
You can't go wrong. Here's we got 3 more snubs on the on the shooters. Joey Peterson, big tall lefty from New York, got mentioned.
Yes, he's the
Great
one that has
shooter.
the glasses, right? He has glasses.
No glasses. Tall. I don't know why I'm saying that he wears Affliction t-shirts, but like it feels like he does. He's like, but he's smokes cigarettes as he's shooting the ball. Plays with like Bill Barnett. Like he played with Nico Fox 2 years ago in Armstrong. We played against them. They had like 3 lefties. I think Franco and Ellie was also on their team too. But he's a stud lefty shooter. Does travel. Does like to get out there, and he's a hell of a hitter.
Yeah. Okay.
And then
there's another one from New York. Who is it?
Well, first I got James Salvaggio from Cleveland, who really had a great beginning of the year. It just felt like James was like in the winning circle over and over and over again, either first, second, or third at the beginning, and then maybe maybe petered off a little bit, which is why you just don't have him in your top. But I think James is a great shooter and actually a pretty damn good.
He definitely could have been an honorable mention player. He's a second. I have him listed as second shooter. He definitely deserves a nod, no doubt.
Yep. And then I got another one. I guess you would put it shooter. So this is an interesting one for me because I don't know where. Like if I got to pick where Michael Nardone played, I actually would prefer him to be in that 2 rolling spot, just because I think he's such a dangerous weapon at that 2 roller. And like sometimes I just don't see necessarily the consistency hitting from Michael, but he's a damn good hitter. And I'm just like really surprised I didn't mention him anywhere on your list.
Well, listen, I got to disagree with you. Again, it is hard. And he's one of the guys, he was a little butthurt. I didn't even mention him. I said, Mike, listen, you just started playing. We don't even know what position you play, dude. Like, are you a roller? Are you a hitter? If I had to play, and I played with him once and we had him lead shooting for several reasons. Not going to get into that at the moment, but I personally think his best spot is probably second shooter. He doesn't do either one great, but he does both well. So I told him he has to find where he fits in on a team. What's his spot? He did win JC, so we have to give love to some of those guys. Rocco Delisio, Nardone, Nick Cap, and Nick O.
Yeah.
2 of our biggest newcomers. I would put Nardone and Nick Cap as our 2 biggest up-and-comers, right?
Delicio's having like comeback player of the year vibes.
Of the year, yeah. Right.
I mean, that dude just keeps on keeps on. He's like everywhere.
Listen, and Nick Cap too is another one, but where does he fit? Where does he go? And Nardone, he got to find a spot first before we don't know what he plays yet. He just plays, and whatever the team needs, he does. So
their JAC team was Nardone, Rocky, Nick O, and Nick Cap.
Yep.
And who led roll?
It was Rocco.
Yeah.
Nick rolled second, and I believe Nardone shot second, which that's where I would have put him on that team.
Yep.
Yeah.
You said you don't want to get into it, but I'm like, so as you probably know, Taylor, and I think most of our audience knows out there that I'm a pretty big bocce geek, dork. Like if you gave me 4 players,
some might say you're a nerd. Some might say you're a nerd.
Yep. Yeah, a little bit of a nerd. Yep. A little bit of stats nerd. Yep. I mean, not going to lie, my 2 majors in college was theater and statistics, so not exactly in the cool kids class.
God, that's awful.
But what I try to think of often is like, give me 4 players, and I want to think about like what the lineup would be if they were on synthetic or a JAC or wherever. And I know that a lot goes into great lineups too. Like you have to have the right fit. Sometimes you make some changes and people have to be comfortable with it, but lineups like matter. And you said you didn't want to get into it where Nardone played first for you, but like why did you think that was the best position for that tournament for you at Neo?
All right, fine. It's a good question. We had him lead shoot because he was a decent shooter, and we definitely wanted to have Stewie have the last ball more often than anybody. And Dante, I think, led roll that tournament. So me and Stewie were kind of the swing players. Listen, me and Stewie are comfortable. We've been in those spots many a times. We wanted to have the ball. We just wanted Mike to focus on one job, that's shooting the ball, go down the court, and we'll let him know what to do. He didn't have much like game calling power, and we ended up getting second in that tournament. He played pretty good.
Yep.
His job was to shoot the ball. We didn't want to put anything else on him. We knew he was a little nervous. So it was like, Mike, just shoot the balls, do the best you can. We'll go from there. So that's kind of why. And again, it's same thing. Like if Stewie couldn't play a tournament and we got Nardone, it was me, Cap, Nardone, and, Trev. Again, I would probably want Nardone shooting first because I'd rather Cap have the ball. Cap's just a better roller than him, and he's a better shooter. So I'd rather him have that opportunity. All you need from your lead shooter really to be competitive in a tournament is probably shooting, 70%? I think 75. Mike can do that.
75.
No, I think you can win. I think you can win with 70%. We won games with Cap shooting under 70%.
You could win games, of course. You can win games with people shooting 50%.
Yes.
40%.
Listen, let me go back. Hold on.
Someone shooting 75.
Hold on. We've had how many guests on this thing so far? We had 3 or 4, and every single time, what wins tournaments? Rolling. Right?
Even
if you have a guy that can at least shoot more than 50% of the balls they shoot, and we roll well, we have a chance to win. And that's what we did.
So we're giving Nardone a lot of love. I will say this, okay? And this is my little slight on players like Nardone is, what makes them shoot well in their minds is how fast they shoot, but their balls don't stay on the court. And I can't tell you how many times we played him against St. Anthony's, and Nardone did not hit that great, but when he did hit, his ball left the court. And so you're just a ball down every single time. And man, I would have to have some shit break. It happens every so often for my ball to leave the court. And so let's just throw a little bit, less power on it. But hell, when I shoot that ball, I have a good chance to stick around. Even if I don't hit it square, my ball's still in play. And so I would be interested to see if he could take a little bit off of it, still maintain that accuracy. But honestly, he's lead shooting maybe with you or in a team where he's putting together a bunch of all-star rollers that he likes to do. But my favorite position for him is that 2 roller, and I think it's wide open for him to potentially make a run there. Okay, way too much Nardone. Let's move on to some rollers you forgot. So we already talked about Rocky DeLisio. Way wrong. Dante's going to be loud and opinionated about his dad and about everything else that he talks about in life, but this one he is so right about. Rocky should have been there. Here's some other ones that people would mention. Silvano, who just won. He just won the Crickets tournament as I believe a second roller on that team. Who was Evie too? I bet you Evie. Oh no, Evie made it one second. So I bet you Silvano led roll. There wasn't a ton of video from that tournament. Wish there was more. But Silvano's a great roller. Also makes some of the best super sod out there. Don't know if you're a dry sausage fan, Taylor, but his super sod game alone, he was passing that thing trays of it to myself, Jason Melaragno, Marco Orlando, and Rocco Guerreri. We're all having a fun little conversation, drinking a couple beers at the big Slovenian festival at the Cleveland Bocce Club. Shout out Brad Nosen and Joe Zazar. But man, dude, his fucking dried sausage game, so good. He's a walrus. Why didn't you mention him? Silvano, baby.
Yeah, listen, he is good. I like, listen, and he's one of those guys too. especially at Jerry's tournaments, because I'm usually there late when I play in them. He's always there watching. There's 3 people watching. He's one of them. He's there. He loves the game. He's great. I don't want to get off Silver real quick, but I think we forgot a hitter that it's funny because there was a video. He just won a 2-man, correct?
Oh, yeah. I just posted him.
And now I know who he is.
This is how dumb I am. Like, I posted a video about him today to make fun of you.
Yes.
And I literally forgot him too. I can't even get mad.
So when I saw him, I go, oh, that guy, he's a beast. Okay.
Yep, Marco.
When he shoots, you just know he's going to hit the ball. Yes. Good. Say his name. Say his name.
Yep. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right, but from Connecticut. Not from not from New York, but from Connecticut.
Okay.
Dude is a baller.
He's a monster.
It's a monster. He's a monster. He's always like
so one game of his at Rome.
Just hitting balls everywhere.
I watched one game of his at Rome, and I think I looked at Cap. I go, who the hell is this dude? He's like, that's Marco. Like, real casually, like he knew him. I'm like, dude, he hasn't missed, I don't think, in like ever. He's like, no, dude, he's a beast.
We were playing out in Rhode Island. There was a tournament out there, and I was playing with Big Gee, Alessio, and our shooter was from California. Our other shooter, he's one of the guys that won Dallas the year before. And so we were out there, and we ran into Marcos. And so I was texting Cap, like, who are these players? Who are these players? I was running into Marco. He's like, oh, he's a stud. Like, always at the top of Rome. I don't know if he said he won Rome. And then, like, sure enough, in our game, like Travis and I from California were like looking over this dude and was like, this dude's a beast. It's just like literally won the game for the 4 of them. Like, it was just it was outstanding. And
he was definitely one of the guys people mentioned as far as rollers go is Pete Russo.
Yep.
Which I haven't seen any pictures of him. I'm sure if I saw him I would know. But a lot of people were very adamant about him being the best roller out there.
So Pete was playing with Marco and Natali and Felice at Wycliffe. That was their team.
Okay.
Okay. And I got to watch.
So a game. Won it a couple years in a row, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it was that team specifically or not. I'm not sure. But
okay.
Yeah, I'd have to go back to the Bocce Pros, major champion winners list. But yeah, Pete's a stud as well. Just a great player. Another one out there that was said was forgotten, much older now, but still one of my favorite guys in bocce, which is Renato. And you got to respect anybody that brings.
He's like Lapovich, dude. Time to move on, bro. I haven't lost to Renato in 3 years. Let's go.
He just won a tournament. He just won another tournament.
Yeah, well, I wasn't in it.
Yep.
No, I'm kidding. Renato, another Hall of Famer. OG. You know what's crazy about him? He's 80, right? I'm pretty sure he's 80 or 81.
Yeah.
He looks like he's 60. He plays like he's in his 50s or 60s. He's still good. He just don't play a lot now.
He's literally sipping on like a glass of wine that he poured out of a Tito's jug.
Yeah. You know who we never mentioned either? It's crazy. Another OG that's on the same plane as Lapovich and Renato is Nunzio. Nunzio from Youngstown. I mean, another stud, dude. Like, he don't play a lot anymore, though, so.
First of all, stud bocce player, but maybe even a better human. Like, just great fucking human. And has
been one of the best singers out there, too. He's one of the best singers.
Great singer. And, he's been taking care of his wife, which is why he hasn't played a lot in the last 35 years. And every time he gets back out there, I'm still like, oh, man, Nunes is still a stud. Still a stud.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So there was a couple comments. I'm going to go with the easier one first. And just like Scott L. Peter and a couple others had mentioned some women rollers, especially in this category, that they felt like maybe not necessarily should be in the top 10, but should get a shout out. I'm going to say their names because I think they're all great. So it was like Val from Canada, Lee Chrisman, Gina Durkin, who was a freaking stud at Lorenzino's. Lee can play anywhere. Courtney, who had just won the IMBS League Championship with another human coming out of her belly. Julie Vivo and some other female rollers like Carmelina, the girls from Dirty 30, Kathy, Holly. And there was another comment, there's all these great female rollers, and I keep going of others that we've seen out there. But there was a comment from Jen Hardy, which I found to be interesting. And one of the things that, you and I pride ourselves on is not to run from conflict. So like just jumping
Right.
into the fire head on and addressing it how we would think. And, if you don't agree with us, that's fine. We can still be friends, shake hands, sort of move on. But we want this to be an unfiltered podcast and not being afraid of like going into maybe some touchier subjects. And so
Yep.
Jen had made a comment about how basically was asking a question, was this an all men's list? You did not mention a female player. And she said there's a bunch of females, herself included, that have hardware. They won women's championships, albeit not a men's championship. She even mentioned that herself. And then they also finish high up in open championships. I think she might have called them men's, but I would call them open championships. That where anyone can play with anybody. It's not required to have someone from a certain gender. And so just like interested on your thoughts on that. Was it a men's only list? Or were you thinking about women too? Was it, is it just really these you think are the best? Just like want to hear it from you.
Yeah. So Danny, that was our Facebook page. I'm the one that responded to that. So people know. I know it was under the Respect the Line name, but I was the one that responded to that. I think I responded, in the best way I could, and it was received well by Jen and Lee. But to answer your question, when I was doing this list, again, when we did the list, I made it very clear in the beginning, these are guys that I think are the best and most consistent. And I say guys loosely. If there was a woman out there that I thought was better than any of those 10, they would be up there. I don't see, again, my response, a lot of my response was, I haven't seen it. Listen, great. You've won some women's tournaments. That's awesome. If I put 4 of those top 10 guys together in a women's tournament, would they win it? Probably. That's my opinion. I think they would win it most of the time, if not all the time. So yeah, like I want to see it. Play these open tournaments against these men, these big tournaments, and see what you got. You did it in MVR. You got, what, 6th or 7th?
Well, in Jen's defense, they do. They play all of them. And I think that's one of the reasons. So, like, you and I, we just put out our interview with Courtney, and we talked about how that all these national PRV winners, right, the best of the best, all also play open bocce. And Courtney mentioned how that was such a big thing for her and, why it helped build that mentality as she goes into PRV. I think one of the reasons why they're so great, not only just in open tournaments, they're really good players, but why they consistently win women's tournaments is because they go out there and challenge themselves against the best. And, right now, the best is, to your, in your list is 40 men. Is 40 men that you have out there. Question for you, though, like, what position do you think a woman would have to be the best, probably the best chance to be able to get up there in the list? Do you think that it would be really like your top shooters? I mean, it's pretty loaded in my opinion. I think it'd be pretty hard for a woman to get up there, or really like anyone to be able to crack that list. But do you think it's at rolling or like, where would you, what would you say in response? Like, is there someone that actually could crack it, or are you just giving lip service and being nice to women right now?
Definitely not giving lip service. I want to go back to one of your comments earlier, though. I meant, and I explained this in my response, was I want to see them win a tournament, not just run deep, win one. And I told them too, we will showcase it. We will give you the love, 100%. We gave you the love when you made a deep run at MVR, and you should have beat MVR. You should have done it. You guys are playing better than them. You were the better team. So, we gave the love before this. Back to your original question, it has to be rolling. And I honestly think that there are some female women players out there that can roll just as good as the men. Just as good, if not better. There's a lot there's some players. There's players out there that I would pick over men to play in a tournament with me.
The first one that comes to my mind is, and I wonder if it's because she plays a lot of tournaments with 3 men. And it just feels like she has I just don't even look. I just look at her as like just a fantastic bocce player, and that's Tiff. I don't think about her necessarily with just Fatal 4. I don't think about her necessarily as just like in that Lowville team, but she just has that sort of killer instinct. And again, she's shooting for Fatal, but she most likely would probably be rolling 2, maybe even lead rolling, if you put her on a team
Yeah.
with 3
So
other of the greats.
so when Tiffany when I started playing seriously about 4 years ago, I think that was before Fatal really got together. I don't know how long
Yep.
Fatal has been
Yeah.
together.
Fatal's like 2.5 years.
Okay. Before that, she was playing with her husband Gary, Eddie Isabella, and those guys, and Jordan. Sometimes they still do. Tiffany was the lead roller, and she was a beast. Especially when she come down to Koppel, and everyone would talk like, "Yo, like Tiffany's a dog, like pure dog." And if she stuck to that, like, there's a couple women out there, and I think to your point, um, Tiffany and Courtney Policaro are two of the women that for sure have played in open tournaments with men's teams and has done well. Courtney actually prefers, I've had conversation with her, she prefers playing in open tournaments with other men than women. I didn't really get into why. I just think she likes it. She wants to do that. She feels comfortable there. She can do it. I don't think there's a single. If Tiffany played Wycliffe with a men's team and said, you know what, Fatal, I don't want to play with you guys this year, and she went out there, play with the men's team, there's a lot of people that would pick her up. I also think that if Jen, for example, just because we're on the topic, if Jen wanted to do that more often, she would be looked at the same way. I think their whole team could. I think the only difference is they stick to playing together with those four. And outside of Tiffany and Courtney, not many of them really venture off and play with all men's teams in an open tournament. And I don't count co-eds because every team has to have a female player.
It's not the
I
same.
mean,
Yeah.
literally, like, yeah, male open tournaments.
It'd be interesting, and I'm sure Lee and Jen at least have thought about this. I don't want to put words in their mouth. And I've seen Tess do it too. Is like
the whole team, yeah, for sure.
Yep. Let's just say they went out and played with 3 men. I don't even think just about playing with men. I think it's more about like just seeing the game in a different way. It'd be really interesting to see if they came out of that experience. Like sometimes 0-2, sometimes you do go far in the tournament, but just sometimes like playing with different people can be a benefit too. We talk about playing on the same team, and you're team guy. I'm a team guy. I like playing with the same people. I have like my circle of trust. When I go out of my Corey Nelly circle, it's typically with Nick Cap or my brother Angelo. I like my trust. Like I especially love my rolling trust. But like there is some benefit, like when I played with Spiff and Tito, or like I've went out there and played with Del Torio, Diane, and Sharon in an open tournament. Like there was a lot of learning experience I gathered from that, just to play with some different people and then bring it back. Where like all of a sudden you go from one type of the person in the group, this type of personality where maybe you're at, best player by far or your best shooter by far, and then all of a sudden you're like in a different bracket in that team. And I think it's like be interesting, to see where they could be able to learn from it instead of playing with their own team. I will say this, that our area especially, and we see it in Chicago as well, like we really don't view women as like, oh, this is an easy out. So if there was 4 women coming out, and I think Estes, said it. I know you've said it.
Yeah.
I did the dumbest thing I've ever done on a bocce court, and that was feel bad for Gina Durkin after she threw a bad ball at a tournament at Lorenzino's. It was the first time that I was like, okay, you got the next one. She just like totally tricked me into being nice. It like totally turned my personality. And then she was a fucking killer and like rolled her ass off and whipped my ass at the end of that game. And I'll never forget, because I played her at Lorenzino's with PJ and Dante. And then I played her again at Armstrong. And I'm like, I'm not even looking at Gina Durkin. I don't even I'm not looking. I don't care if she's a female. I don't care if she's the nicest woman in the history of the world. Like, I got to go with that same killer mentality to go try to kick her ass. And I think that just shows not only the respect that we have for women in the sport, in this community, that I'm very proud of, and others as well, but also like how fucking good they are. Like we wouldn't be doing it if we didn't think they were fucking good.
Listen, we played Fatal one time this year, I believe. I'm pretty sure it was Fatal. Actually, I know it was fatal. In an open tournament, and like I think it was like the second game maybe, and like me and Cap were like, and Stewie, yo, like we got to play good. Like if we don't play good, we'll lose.
Yeah.
And we're not dumb. Like I'm not. This is it's. I told Jen in the comments too. It's all love. Like trust me, this is not disrespectful. We have to play good to beat you. If we don't, we're gonna lose. And you know it's just a testament to their ability. It's not a disrespect at all. But when you're talking again, I'm going to bring it all the way back to the beginning, Danny. You're talking about top 10 players at each position, right? There's a lot of good players out there. It's going to be hard for them to crack it unless they show out in these open tournaments consistently. That's it. I mean, you call it what you want. That's just what it is.
The best part about this sport, the best part about this sport and where it's going is we're going to be able to watch it all on TV.
You know what? I might just call up Tiffany. You know what? I'm calling up Tiffany Zarola. I'm telling Triv, you're out. Tiffany, you're joining BSB. I think we can win. I know we would win.
You know,
I know we would win.
We're gonna end on that big hot take. I like it.
I know we would win.
Hey, you know what? This is just to the fans. Like, we really appreciate the comments, the love. These were the 2 most popular episodes that we had put out. It was really fun seeing them go viral. We really appreciate the feedback, good, bad, otherwise. Give it to us. We want to show you that we can be able to take it, and just keep on listening. We're going to keep getting better, evolving, and we got some more top 10 lists coming for you down the way. But this is Matt Taylor, Danny Catullo, Respect the Line. We appreciate you, the fans.
Later.
Bocce.